The ODST or Orbital Drop Shock Troopers are a highly specialized class of soldier deployed on only the most dangerous and near suicidal missions, which is why I've chosen them specifically for this video, where we'll be replacing Delta Squad from Republic Commando with Alpha 9, or who I'll mostly be referring to as Alpha Team. Delta Squad and Alpha Team have quite a lot of similarities. Both are elite and highly specialized squads of futuristic soldiers that fight aliens, and many members of both teams share similar roles, such as Mickey and Scorch both being demolitions experts, or Romeo and Sev sharing the position of expert marksman. For you guys who have been here from the start, we're 5 videos deep into the series, so you'll already know what I'm about to say. We gotta set some ground rules first. The first being that Alpha will be able to find ammo for whatever weapons they're using, even if from a hypothetical narrative standpoint it wouldn't make any sense. The point of the series is to see if characters with their unique equipment and skills could survive different situations, so having Alpha lose due to not being able to use their weapons kinda defeats the point. Not to mention we'd then have to give them an arbitrary amount of ammo and speculate on when they'd run out, and it would just be unnecessarily messy and complicated. So we'll be putting Alpha through 2 different scenarios. Scenario A will only allow them to use their own weapons, so no picking up blasters or any other Star Wars weapons. Scenario B will be the opposite, where we allow Alpha to scavenge any weapons and equipment they can get their hands on. But before we dive into the video, I don't normally ask for sub or like goals, but I need y'all to get this video to 4K likes, man. My last video was age restricted, just 4K away from being my first 100K video, and I'm salty as hell, man. So any subs and likes are greatly appreciated. But with the intro stuff out of the way, let's begin breaking down the ODSTs.
Oh, brother. So check your mouths, find your chairs, and get set for a combat drop.
Unlike Delta Squad, which is composed of 4 members, Alpha 9 is composed of 5, Buck being the commanding officer, Dutch being the team's heavy weapons specialist, Romeo the squad's expert marksman, Mickey the explosive ordnance expert, and Rookie, who doesn't specialize in anything in particular, but is just a well-rounded great soldier. The members of Alpha 9 all wear the standard Human Covenant war model of the ODST armor, which features titanium and ceramic materials for the armor plating, and a black bodysuit composed of Kevlar to protect against small ballistics fire. The inner layer contains a heating and cooling system capable of matching infrared signals to make the wearer essentially invisible to thermal imaging, and the outer layer is coated in heat-resistant material to reduce temperatures during orbital drop and protect from plasma weapons. The standard primary weapon for most members of Alpha is the M7S silenced SMG, which fires low-caliber 5mm rounds, with their standard sidearm being the M6S silenced Magnum, firing semi-armor-piercing 50 caliber projectiles. While these 2 weapons are the standard carry for most ODSTs like Rookie, more specialized members carry other weapons. Dutch carries the M6 Spartan laser, which fires an energy beam capable of destroying heavily armored vehicles like the Wraiths in 1 or 2 shots, and Romeo mains the S2 anti-material rifle, which, while the type of ammunition the weapon fires isn't specified, there is a statement that claims the weapon can penetrate 13 feet of flesh and bone from 600 yards away, on top of the fact that it's an AMR and not just your typical sniper rifle. AMRs are used for taking out military structures, equipment, and armored vehicles, so needless to say it's pretty impressive. Now that we have a good understanding of Alpha Team as well as their armor and weaponry, it's time to put them in the shoes of Delta Squad to see if they could survive the events of Republic Commando, starting with Scenario A.
Banshees on your 6! Interject! We're losing her! Watch out! Mickey, Dutch!
The start of the game has the team being briefed by their clone advisor, and dropping on Geonosis at the very start of the Clone Wars to hunt a high-ranking Geonosian named Sun Fac. To reach their target, they'll have to fight B1 battle droids and Geonosian warriors, both of which shouldn't give the ODSTs too much trouble. The B1s are notoriously fragile, and while the warriors are a real threat, Alpha Team is no stranger to fighting enemies physically larger and stronger than them. During the Human Covenant War, they would have gained plenty of experience fighting countless elites and hunters, and in Halo 3, Rookie even by himself can take out squads of brutes solo. Granted, this is likely done from range and not in melee, where brutes and other enemies have an advantage. As they make their way through the caves and hives of Geonosis, they'll eventually come across blockades that will need to be destroyed in order to progress. Luckily, Mickey and his explosives should make this a non-issue. But on the other hand, sometimes a computer or system will need to be hacked into in order to open a door or complete an objective. Well, many of these can be bypassed by Mickey simply destroying the lock on the door or whatever console needs to be hacked. That isn't always possible. In the situation where their only choice is to hack a system, they unfortunately don't have a computer specialist like Fixer on the team to fill this role. So if you think Alpha isn't able to hack into Separatist systems or can't find a way around this issue, they could be blocked from progressing at key points, such as when Delta had to slice into the underground jamming device to disable it. If they're able to somehow find a way around hacking the jammer, they'll eventually run into super battle droids, which, unlike the B1s, are heavily armored and highly dangerous. Luckily, ODST armor is built to protect against plasma damage, but even so, the wrist blasters on the B2 are pretty powerful, able to shred through a commando's shield and Duraplast armor insanely quickly. Not to mention the wrist rockets, which Alpha, of course, are gonna have to look out for. The B2s will probably have to be dealt with by Romeo's AMR or Dutch's Spartan Laser, because unlike the Commando's DC-17 blaster rifle, I can't see the low caliber SMG getting through the tougher armor, though the Magnum with its higher caliber semi-armor piercing rounds might be able to do at least some damage. The real threat they'll face on Geonosis is the mini spider droid, but due to its slow movement and the fact that it takes substantial damage from the grenade launcher attachment for the blaster rifle, the Spartan Laser shouldn't have too much trouble taking it out. Once they catch up to Sunfac making his getaway in his ship, Romeo shouldn't have much trouble taking him out the exact same way Sev did, since the AMR is capable of taking out Banshees and other armored vehicles. Upon reaching the core ship, the group is separated with the objective of sabotaging different sectors of the ship, and this is where things can get a bit sketchy for Alpha. Everyone is on their own, and the core ship is filled with dormant B2s, and while most can be snuck by if careful, some will activate no matter what. In this situation, Romeo and Dutch, due to their weapons, should be fine, but Rookie, Buck, and debatably Mickey might have trouble here, only having access to weapons that may not be able to damage the B2s. Now, to be fair, every member of Alpha survived on their own for a period of time in a Covenant-controlled New Mombasa. The issue here is less their skill as a soldier, and more so the effectiveness of their weapons against the super battle droids. Though it's possible that a combination of the Magnum and maybe a few frag grenades could get the job done. After meeting back up and gaining access to the bridge, all that's left standing between the ODSTs and victory on Geonosis is slicing into the bridge's computer to get the launch codes, which once again I'm kinda doubtful they could do, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. So they get the launch codes and evacuate through the aft door on the far end of the bridge, which concludes the chapter on Geonosis. So far, the only real issue I see Alpha having is with slicing Separatist systems, but other than that, they should be able to deal with all of the enemies encountered so far, even with just their own weaponry. But this next chapter will provide completely new enemies and obstacles for Alpha to overcome. Over a year after the battle on Geonosis, a missing Republic assault ship named the Prosecutor has suspiciously reappeared on the outskirts of Separatist space, and Alpha Team is deployed to investigate. Now, right off the bat, we gotta talk about the ODSTs and how they deal with the vacuum of space. At the start of the chapter, Delta is briefed by the advisor that they have to spacewalk in order to get inside the Prosecutor. While ODST suits and helmets can be vacuum sealed and supply up to 15 minutes of oxygen, Alpha Team specifically has never been shown using this or having access to specific 0G ODST armor variants or attachments, like the Black Daggers have. But if they're being sent on a mission that requires pressurized suits, I don't see a reason they wouldn't be allowed access to armor attachments or variants that allow them to survive in the vacuum of space. But if you think it's a cop-out to give them equipment we've never seen them use before, that's fair, but in this situation I think it makes sense. After blasting out into space and splitting up to different parts of the ship, they come across hostile scavenger droids hiding in the dark underbelly of the Prosecutor. 3-8 was only able to see them due to his visor's low light mode, but luckily the ODST's visors are also equipped with a similar function that also highlights enemies. Eventually, one member of Alpha will be knocked out by the appearance of the Trandoshans, which, depending on who's in Boss's situation, will be attacked by a group of Trando Berserkers, and since they're mostly unarmored, I don't see any of the ODSTs having too much trouble with them, especially since they're used to fighting brutes and elites, both of which are faster and stronger.
You lizards need to learn that I'm a lot scarier than you are.
The same goes for the Trando Elite. Besides his repeater gun being an issue, I really don't see him being much different to take down than a brute, so regardless of the ODST and Boss's situation, they should be able to pull it off. After finishing the Elite, Alpha meets back up in the ship's prison sector where they fight through waves of droids and slavers until suddenly the sector is flooded with poison gas, where luckily Alpha is saved by their pressurized suit and can escape through a hatch in the wall. Alpha has to fight their way through the hangar bay where they find a Republic walker to take out the droid refineries and force field regulator, which based on how we see the walker cannon is fired, Alpha should be able to figure it out pretty easily. A new enemy they'll come across are the Droidicas, which can deploy a polarized bubble shield, allowing them to block projectiles while firing their own. And normally this would probably be an issue for Alpha, 1 or 2 shots from the Spartan laser should bring it down. And if that fails, the Droidicas can't keep their shields up for long anyway, so they could always wait out the shield. After taking out the remaining droids and slicing into the terminals to activate the ship's auto defenses, being a bit generous to Alpha here that they can accomplish that of course, that ends the Prosecutor chapter of the campaign.
Service, Delta Squad. No one steals a ship from the Republic while we're around.
So far it seems that hacking terminals and debatably some of the stronger enemies are the biggest hurdles for Alpha Team, depending on how strong you think the Trando Elite is, and if a single ODST could take him out, or how strong the super battle droids are and if you think the Spartan laser or Romeo's AMR is powerful enough to deal with them. But honestly, so far I think they've done a lot better than I expected with their equipment, but the final test will be the very end of the campaign on the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. When it comes to Kashyyyk, there's not a ton of new challenges that the ODSTs will have to face, as it's mostly just fighting through waves of enemies they've already encountered up until this point, and here they even have the help from the Wookiees. However, there's one new enemy type that could be a major problem, that being the Magna Guards that act as General Grievous' personal bodyguards. Alpha will have to fight 2 Magna Guards on 2 separate occasions, both times being aided by the Wookiee chieftain Tarful. In other pieces of Star Wars media, Magna Guards can even press Jedi Knights, and larger groups can challenge Jedi Masters in melee combat, so needless to say they'll be the biggest challenge of the entire game for Alpha 9.
Got a visual on a landing pad.
Positive ID on General Grievous. What's he? Damn!
We're being spotted. Get down there. Move! What the galaxy was that?
Magna Guards bare minimum have massively hypersonic combat speed due to the fact that they can fight Jedi Knights like Nadar Veb, or Clone Wars era Ahsoka Tano, who as a Padawan was relative to Ventress. Maybe if you're very generous to Alpha, Tarful can distract them while Dutch lines up Spartan laser shots, but I think you have to kinda downplay the Magna Guards and be a bit generous to Alpha Squad. Granted, it might be implied that Delta defeated them in a similar way, as they don't have hypersonic combat speed either, so it's not impossible. If they're able to make it past the first wave of Magna Guards, the rest of Kashyyyk should be smooth sailing since it's all just enemies Alpha has fought already up until this point, which means all members make it to the turrets and are able to destroy the Separatist cruiser. Honestly, before writing the script for this video, I thought Alpha would stand almost no chance, but after going over everything, they honestly have a much better shot than I thought. But what if we allow them to pick up weapons from the Trandos or use Republic weapons? Well, it honestly doesn't change all that much. It really just makes the journey easier because honestly, Romeo's AMR and Dutch's Spartan laser are doing a lot of heavy lifting. Without them, I don't think Alpha could make it due to the SMG and Magnum being too weak to take out enemies stronger than the average B1 or Trando Berserker. So could Alpha Team survive the events of Republic Commando? It's debatable. If you think they could figure out how to hack into Separatist systems and that their weapons would be effective against the stronger enemy types, or allow them to use Star Wars weapons, then it's possible. The real problem is going to be the Magna Guards. While Delta Squad aren't relative to Jedi in speed, clone commandos are trained by Mandalorians from birth, on top of being genetically enhanced super soldiers, and even with the help of a Wookiee chieftain, barely managed to pull it off. So while you can possibly make the argument for Alpha squeaking out a W, I personally don't really see it. On the other hand, a team that could absolutely survive the Clone Wars are the channel members Junior Ibarra, Sithlore 906, and Savage Acorn. Massive thank you to you guys for supporting the channel, especially after I was greased by YouTube on my last video, man. We talk about a lot of mature franchises on the channel that YouTube sometimes doesn't really vibe with, so your support really helps to soften the blow. And if you'd like to support a small creator, consider hitting the join button down below and become a channel member to get your name at the end of every video. But besides that, as always, I thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.